There are many traditions that use props as well, but none of these traditions actually use in such an extensive manner as the Iyengar system. So I want to take this opportunity to give you some guidance about how to use these props. The pose that we're going to do is relatively simple. It's called Supta Padangusthasana I. Now with this one, we lie down. You need one belt and then one blanket and maybe one block. I'm going to take you through to what extent we need all these props. Now, if you do the pose raw, you can do the pose raw. That means that you don't need any props. You basically just hook your big thumb, extend, and then extend your leg. So that will be a raw pose. But many people find this difficult while you still need to maintain your alignment. So we start using props to adjust our body so we can experience the pose properly. Now, the first thing I want to tell you is the head. We start with the head. Now, many people, because of poor posture, etc., your head is tilted backwards. If your head is tilted backward, all the blood flow will flow to the brain. And when your brain is not quiet, you cannot observe your body properly. And yoga is not a pure physical exercise. You need to be able to observe your body. Yoga, many a times when you practice, you need to exercise intention and awareness. In order for you to do that, your mind needs to be relatively calm. So from that perspective, you lengthen the back of your neck and see whether your forehead can be aligned with your chin in such a way that it's parallel to the floor. Now, I have a bit of a hyperlordosis of my cervical spine. So usually I would need something to support the head. So if you have more serious problem, maybe you have got hunchback, maybe you have even more severe hyperlordosis of the cervical spine, then you can fold it even more. Okay? So it's up to you what you need to do. You might need some support for the head. At least your forehead and your chin is parallel to the floor, then the mind can quiet down, then we can actually work on this now. The next one we're going to use is the belt. There are many ways to use the belt. The most common one that people do is simply doing this. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. You use your hand, just holding the both sides. There's nothing wrong with that. But for beginners, because especially if your hamstring is very tight, holding like this would mean that you use a lot of your arm strength. When you use a lot of your arm strength, look at my shoulder. The shoulders start to actually shrink up. And therefore, the neck area, the upper back area, the chest area becomes closed. And that is not the pose. The pose is actually widened and open. So if you are in this situation, then maybe this setup of the belt is not suitable for you. There is an alternative way of using this belt is we make a big loop. And then you hold any part that is not the buckle and then place it on close to the heel. As you hold, your palm facing the face, and you hold it like this. So you're just almost resting your arm down, and that actually creates less tension on the shoulder and also on your chest and upper back. So it might be a bit easier for you to pull the shoulder away from the ear in this position. Okay, so that's the second use of the belt, which is one of the props. Last but not least, I also want to show you whether or not you might need a block underneath your feet. Now, for some people, they may actually have more of a curve in your lower back. If you bend your legs, step on the floor, you should be able to have your lower back all the way flat to the floor. When you extend your leg, and there is a little bit of curve, and the curve here is actually pushing your lower back, that's not good for you, especially when you're on the floor. If when you are on the floor, there is too much of a curvature on your lower back, that means you are arching your back and that creates tension. When that is the case, you should raise your leg up slightly. That helps you to lengthen the lower back and see whether or not you can try to lengthen the lower back as flat as you can get onto the floor. Now, these three props, use according to what you need. You may or may not need the block. You may or may not need the blanket. Most people would need the belt. Now, when you're ready, lie down flat first. Lie down flat. Press your elbow, pull the chest up, lengthen the lower back, roll the sacrum. Lengthen the back of the neck, place the head flat so that your mind is calm. Now, after you've done that, then we're going to raise the right leg up, place the belt onto close to the heel. Usually we call that the top heel. And then hold the belt with the palm facing the face side. And then straighten the top leg first and make the top leg 90 degrees perpendicular to the floor. Then you extend the left leg down onto the floor. Make sure the lower back is still flat as you can get. Try not to push your lower back in this position. Now, once you are in this position, your left leg, the bottom leg, press the heel down into the floor and then pull the thigh bone, the left thigh bone, into the hip. As you do that, you feel the lengthening of the lower back. Now, both arms pull down slightly so that the right thigh bone goes into the hip and then the hip goes down to the floor. Now, maintaining from the base. Now, your shoulder needs to go away from the ears. Now, the armpit, the bottom end of your armpit, move towards the outer hip and then open the elbow slightly so that the chest also open. Now here, although the main sensation is the opening of the hamstring, you should also feel the spine extension. It's not just about the hamstring, it's also the spine extension. So with the spine extension, you need to make sure the lower back is long, and that you need to pull the thigh bone, both of the legs, into the hip. Especially the lower leg, most people would forget. So press the left heel down into the floor, pull the left thigh bone in, lengthen the lower back. That actually extends the spine. Now, as you extend the lower back, pull the shoulder away from the ear as you lift the sternum chest towards the head. Now, those have a little bit more hip mobility. This is a time when you can actually pull the leg towards the head side a little bit more, if you want to. But when you do that, make sure your shoulder is away from the ear. Keep pulling the bottom end of your armpit towards the outer hip. Keep pulling it down towards the outer hip and then pull the arms closer so that your leg can come closer and closer to the head side. Just do as much as you can. Even if 90 degrees, that's very good. Stay in 90 degrees, that's fine. Only for those who have the hip mobility, you can go more. As you go more, the top leg, now the sit bone comes off from the ground. You try to move the sit bone down into the floor. Try to move the sit bone down into the floor and then keep the right thigh bone in the hip. So that keeps the stability of your hip. Okay, now release. Bend the legs, come down. Let's change. Place the belt onto the top heel of your left leg. Hold the belt. Remember, when you're holding the belt, you should not be holding the buckle. The buckle will be somewhere not touching any part of your skin. Now keep the lower back long. Keep the lower back long. Then extend the right leg, the bottom leg down. Now, adjust the bottom leg first, press the heel down, bend slightly the right leg, press the heel down, pull the right thigh bone in and lengthen the lower back. Now, both arms pull down slightly so that the left thigh bone goes down and into the hip and then the hip go down toward the floor. Maintaining compact hip, move the shoulder away from the ear. The lower part, the lower end of your armpit move towards the outer hip. At the same time, your sternum chest move towards the head side. Feel the compactness of the hip. When it's 90 degrees, this is the easiest way to experience compactness of the hip. Now, for those who have more hip mobility, you may now move the foot, the top leg, slightly closer towards the head side. As you move slightly towards the head side, the sit bone tilts up. You need to use your mind, the intention. We talk about intention and awareness. Now you're aware where the sit bone is. Now the intention now is to move the left sit bone down towards the floor as you try to move the left hip bone going into the hip even more. Yes. Stay here. Now, as you try to move the leg closer to the head, your shoulder wants to go up towards the ear. Now, move the shoulder down, pull the armpit, the lower part of the armpit towards the outer hip. Yes. Okay, release. Come down. Turn around, and then come up.